So that will happen eventually.
You know gravity, right? Which Isaac Newton kind of discovered. It was there, right? He just kind of rediscovered it. The culture and traditions are like that. I mean, you can't avoid it. It's always there, and you are part of it. So we should be able to live with the culture now. If you are living in Japan, the way you live and talk and interact with people is very different from the way you do same things in Colombo. And if you go to some other country, you have to live with that culture. That's part of our life. We can't avoid it. But still, it's very important to have your independence maintained. You have core values, right? You have certain things that you value more than certain other things, even in personal life. So within these cultural norms, your parents have their own expectations, your teachers have their own expectations, but still, so all those expectations make you towards kind of that average person. It makes you average person because parents and teachers and everybody wants you to be the previous success stories. You to emulate their success. But still, you have to be different. So how we can do that? You have a thing called free time, weekends. Okay? So most of us, what we do is we do nothing. I mean, you just go and sleep. Some people spend all their free time in front of TV. But we have, you guys are young, right? No responsibilities. Practically no responsibilities. Your parents take care of your elder brothers and sisters take care of you. So you have enough time. And Santan will have a kind of very good discussion about this time you have to spend to become an expert at the very end of the lecture. But use this time, because after another 5-6 years, what happens is you get married, have kids, and you don't have anything else to do. You have to spend 100% of your time with your kids and family. But this is the time you have to have this nice, firm foundation. And this is the opportunity you have. You don't have much responsibility. Most of the things are taken care of. And internet and all the other things are there. Nowadays, in 10 years ago, internet was not kind of this famous, it doesn't have this much of information. Now, if a book is published in US today, in few hours you can get the same book. You can read that knowledge, you have access to that knowledge. So we are not divided by the cultural, West and East, that kind of division is not there anymore. All the information is there, and you have time. What is missing is your kind of willingness to kind of go and learn those things. There are few guys and girls, but majority they just waste their time. So spend your time learning new technologies. And if you are an IT person, IT is not a kind of only development. You have a lot of things. You have requirement gathering, you have quality assurance, you have documentation, systems integration, maintenance. There are so many other disciplines. And how many of you have heard about open source projects? Can you just raise your hands like a little bit? Tiny bit. So you can contribute to those things. They call these things as low-hanging fruits. That means any new person, if it is a good open source project, you can go and just contribute in a very small way. You can tell, okay, I don't like, can you change this icon to something else? Or you can give a translation now, or the documentation maybe in English, you can give a Tamil translation. You don't have to do it in individually, you can get together. That way they will recognize, okay, this person is adding some value. They will recognize you. And next time when you send the CV, you can add that as a extracurricular activity. Now when we get hundreds of cookie cutter CVs, when we see, okay, this guy has done some translation on open source projects documentation, we recognize that value. It is important because that person has gone out of their way to help on this project. Now we have excellent opportunity because this YAL IT hub has kind of created a project called Wise School. You can start from there because a lot of people are talking Tamil and they are willing to help you. And once you get that experience, the whole life cycle of software development process, then you can start contributing to other international projects. And entire international community will recognize your efforts if you do a good job. I know you guys have brilliant brains. The issue here is we are not using it, even though we have the opportunity. Everybody wants to become a kind of a government employee. Not a very aspiring. I mean, 20 years ago, that was a kind of a good thing. I mean, things have changed. Now, can you remember how many of us, now I will tell a story. One of my friends went to kind of buy a computer. I mean, long time ago. And the vendor asked, okay, do you want internet access? In that case, you have to buy a modem. So this guy thought, okay, internet access is a good thing, so he bought a modem and came home. Then now he can't access internet. Then later found out, okay, now he needs a telephone connection to connect to that modem. He didn't have a telephone connection. Right? So those were the days where nobody had a telephone connection. This was a privilege. Now everybody has a telephone connection, even school kids. So things have changed. We have we don't have to live in the past. Those days, only government give the kind of connections. Now there's a lot of 5 telecom operators. One other thing is, you can contribute to open source projects after some time. When you get the kind of experience, you can start on your own project. That's how Linux started. I mean, Linux was a kind of a student in Finnish university. He started his own OS project as a hobby, and now it has become a major, huge open source success story. So, if you want to become a next IT Silicon Valley, you have to take that path. You have to use your weekends and free time in a useful way. That's the only opportunity, because if you have to live, you have to earn money, right? You have to buy a car, build a house,